Hey everyone, Cahlen here, and a few people asked me to say some things about dealing with condensation while camping, especially out in the cold. So I've been living outside for about a year and a half, and I did also live in my truck a lot, and that's actually a place where condensation was a big problem. And anyways, condensation is something that I've had to deal with for a long period of time, and I wouldn't say it's something that I have totally figured out, and it basically is something that you kind of continually have to worry about during the colder months, because it's not just kind of inconvenient to wake up to moisture, cold moisture all over yourself and your gear, but it's actually can be life-threatening in a way, right? If your stuff is soaked and you don't have a way to air it out during the day, then come the next night, you're gonna be cold, right? And also mold is another really big issue there, because you're gonna get moisture in your sleeping bag, and even if you're using a synthetic, it can get moldy if you allow it to be wet for long periods of time, like if you don't air it out during the day. But with things like down, that stuff gets moldy pretty easily, and pretty much if you've had a down sleeping bag for year or more, you probably have mold in there, and it's probably making you sick. So you're basically sleeping in mold toxins every night, and this is, I think, part of the reason why some people get allergic to down and stuff like that. So one piece of advice is don't use down for your sleeping bag. Another piece of advice is in your tents, or if you're sleeping in your car or something like that, have a place for air to escape, because water vapor basically fills up a space, increases in concentration, and it wants to balance out with the density of water vapor in the air around it, but there's nowhere for it to escape, and it's just going to continue to build up in that place. So roll down a window a little bit if you're in your car. For me, I sleep underneath a tarp instead of a tent, so it's not enclosed. You can see it's got a big giant opening, and the roof tilts up, so it basically just leads moisture out of the tent. But you can see I still have, I don't know how well you can see that there's ice crystals all over this. It's like 9 degrees Fahrenheit right now, so very cold. But anyways, with the tarp situation, it's fine. If I can put this thing into a different configuration, which is basically entirely enclosed, and I would have giant thick layers of ice crystals on it this morning, and that would be a problem. I would need to do something about it during the day. Luckily, I live in a place where even if it's really cold, it's probably going to be sunny during the day. Almost every single day is sunny here, even in the winter, so I can air my stuff out. So don't be enclosed. Air your stuff out during the day. Don't use down. Let's see what else. Basically, that's basically the gist of it. You just kind of have to stay on top of it. There are some people who are like winter explorers, and they have other ways, because this stuff gets really extreme for them, and they actually have to scrape off all of the ice off of their tent and their gear every morning. Otherwise, it's going to end up being a really big problem. So another place that you'll get moisture, especially if you're like me, you're using a bivy sack, which I recommend in the winter. It really helps with heat. The moisture which your body is giving off, it's not just sweat, and it's not just even you breathing, but your body is just giving off moisture all the time. So it passes through things. It passes through your clothes, it passes through your sleeping bag, and then it stops at a spot where something is not as permeable to water. Something's totally waterproof. This bivy sack is a little bit permeable to water, so it's not as bad as a bivy sack that isn't. But I still do get moisture on this part, kind of up towards my head, because when it gets really cold, I need to pull the sleeping bag and the bivy sack over my head, and that's a huge amount of moisture is coming out, going through the bag and getting caught at the bivy layer and collecting there, and it gets icy. You can see there's ice. And also I have another layer sleeping bag, and this layer is the outer layer, and this thing gets really wet. So basically I just have to take the bivy off, and then usually that's enough, but ideally throw it out in the sun for a few hours if you can. And so And if you live in a place that's wet all the time and even cloudy all the time and you don't have a way to air that out, you know, honestly for me, that means don't live there. That's what it means to me. It's big enough of a problem that I just won't even live in that spot. So anyways, hope that's helpful. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please consider sharing it. If you'd like to help me out in a more substantial way, you can learn how to do so at cahlen.org/gift. And if you'd like to have a one-on-one conversation with me, whether publicly or privately, you can learn how to do so at cahlen.org/one-on-one. Thanks again for watching.